Hi, in this video I'll help you get to know your car a little better. At the end of this video I've put together a straightforward infographic that summarizes all the key points. Like, subscribe and comment below. It really helps.
All right, let's talk about it. That dreaded check engine light. If you're watching this, you've probably seen it and you're trying to crack the case of a very specific error code, P1404. Well, you've come to the right place. Let's figure this thing out. So the light pops on, you hook up the scanner, and it gives you P1404. What in the world does that even mean? Well, think of it less as just a problem and more like a specific coded message from your car's computer. We're going to translate that message for you piece by piece so you know exactly what to do. Okay, so let's get right into it. This code isn't just some random alert. Nope, it's a clue. A very specific clue that's pointing us to one particular system in your engine. So our first job is to understand exactly what that clue is telling us. And here it is, the official definition. Code P1404 is all about the exhaust gas recirculation system, or EGR for short. Now, what does the EGR system even do? It's actually a pretty smart emissions system. It takes a little bit of your car's exhaust and sends it back into the engine. This cools things down and cuts down on nasty emissions. This code is basically your car saying, hey, there's a problem with the electrical circuit that controls a key part of this system. You know, what's really interesting is how your car's computer decides to flag this. It's not happening all the time. The computer is constantly listening to other sensors, especially the engine coolant temperature sensor and the heated oxygen sensor. It's only when the data from those sensors hits a very specific range that the computer says, okay, now I'm going to test the EGR system. This tells you it's a very specific, conditional kind of error. All right, so now that we know what system is yelling for help, we need to figure out why. And when it comes to a P1404 code, there are usually four main culprits. Think of them as our usual suspects. Let's line them up and see who's to blame. This right here is a fantastic bird's eye view of our entire investigation. We've got our four suspects, and you can see the potential problems range from something simple, like a physical clog, all the way to a trickier electrical issue. We're going to walk through each one so you'll know exactly what to look for. So let's start our step-by-step breakdown. We're going to put each of these four suspects under the microscope. For every single one, we'll look at the problem it's causing and, more importantly, the exact solution you need to get it fixed. Our first suspect is probably the most straightforward, a physical blockage. See, the EGR system has a tube that carries those exhaust gases, and just like a drain in your house, it can get gunked up with carbon buildup over time. So the problem is simple, right? The pathway for the exhaust gas is blocked, and the solution is just as direct. You either need to give that tube a really good cleaning to get all that junk out, or if it's just too clogged up, you'll have to replace it. Let's move on to suspect number 2, the EGR valve itself. This is the part that acts like a little gatekeeper, controlling the flow of exhaust gas. And if that gate isn't opening and closing smoothly, well, you're going to have issues. The issue here is a mechanical failure, plain and simple. The valve gets stuck open or stuck closed, and it's just not doing its job. When this happens, honestly, the most effective and reliable solution is to just replace the whole valve. Okay, for our third suspect, we're shifting gears from mechanical parts to the world of electronics. We're looking at the control circuit here, the wiring that talks to the EGR solenoid. A solenoid is just a fancy name for an electromagnetic switch. It's what the car's computer uses to tell the EGR valve to open or close. So the problem here is basically a communication breakdown. The computer is sending a signal, but if the wire is broken, what we call an open circuit, or shorted out, that signal never actually reaches the solenoid. The fix means tracking down that electrical fault and either repairing the wire or sometimes replacing the solenoid itself. And now for our final and maybe most surprising suspect. What if the entire EGR system is working perfectly? This is where it gets a little tricky. Sometimes the problem isn't the system itself, but the information the computer is getting about the engine. Remember that engine coolant temperature sensor we talked about? Well, if that sensor is feeding bad data to the computer, like telling it the engine is freezing cold when it's actually running hot, it can totally trick the computer into thinking there's an EGR problem. It's a classic case of garbage in, garbage out. In this situation, the fix is simple. You just replace the sensor that's lying to the computer. Okay, so you've officially met all the suspects. Now let's turn all this information into a real plan of attack. Here's your diagnostic checklist. The exact steps to take to find the real culprit behind that check engine light. And this is the logical way to do it. You want to start with the simplest, most common physical checks first. Is the tube clogged? Is the valve physically sticking? If those both look good, then you move on to the more involved electrical tests for the solenoid, and finally, you check if that ECT sensor is telling the truth. And there you have it. You now know the 4 main reasons you might be seeing code P1404, and you know the solution for each one. That knowledge is your most powerful tool. Just understanding what could be wrong is the biggest step toward getting it fixed for good. So the question isn't what's wrong with my car anymore. Now it's, where do I start my search? You've got the knowledge, you've got the checklist. It's time to get in there and start your investigation. Which suspect are you going after first to finally turn that light off?